This is about healthcare for everybody, but this is also about, do we hang on to a functioning democracy? It's time to speak out. This is the all hands on deck moment. This touches all of us, but we got a chance to make a difference now.
Hello, and welcome to the Jessica Yellin Show on Substack, where we try to bring you news of the world and connect the dots in ways that keep you informed, empowered, and ideally calm. Increasingly hard these days. Today, my guest is Senator Elizabeth Warren. I first met Senator Warren when she was the bailout watchdog, keeping tabs on the big banks and the government. And now the role of watchdog is so much more challenging. A fierce advocate for consumers and the middle class, she has been Massachusetts Senator since 2013. Senator Warren, thanks so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here with you, Jessica.
Glad to see you. We're going to get into the big, beautiful bill in a moment, but I'd like to start just with some of what's really happening today as well about ICE. We have seen things that federal agents are doing right now I have never seen in my years covering government. Taking down a sitting senator, placing him face down on the ground. They detained somebody at a New York City controller at immigration court, arrested members of the House. I'm curious, I hear privately that there are Republican senators who are bothered by this as well. I'm curious both your reaction to what's going on, and is there any hope for a bipartisan effort to push back against these tactics?
So I am very alarmed. I am alarmed about ICE's increasing escalation in terms of what's happening. And remember, it's been happening with, they wear masks, they grab people off sidewalks, this rough handling. And I think everybody understands, sure. Uh, when you have criminals that you're trying to pull in, rapists and murderers, that's not what's happening here. And when people in government are trying to do their jobs of oversight, having someone like Senator Padilla thrown to the floor, got him down. First, he gets down on his knees, then on his face because he tried to ask a question. With the controller of New York City, Brad Lander, what happened there? For all of this, I am deeply worried about what happens to us, to officials, when the cameras are rolling, when people are around. What do you think is happening to everyone else? What's happening to people who don't have someone to back them up, who don't have other people there with them? So I'm really worried about this. And you are right. There are Republicans who very quietly behind closed doors say they are concerned. But I'm sorry, that's just not good enough. Um, it's time to speak out. It's time to grow a backbone and to say, this is wrong. We have three parts to government, and we need each part to stand up and do its work. We all take an oath, not to Donald Trump, but to the Constitution of the United States. And I'm deeply, deeply concerned about the fact that there are either no or virtually no Republicans in the Senate who have the courage to speak out. And that just empowers Donald Trump and empowers those who on the ground think there are no rules that apply to them. And understand that's a threat to all of us, Jessica, everyone.
May I ask you a quick follow on that, which is some of the video we see of these ICE agents when you say they're zip tying kids, we've seen grabbing people outside churches and schools. They're acting like rogue agents. I've never seen federal officials, federal law enforcement act this way. And it's confounding who these people really are.
Yep.
Is there an effort to figure out under what authority these individuals are operating or who is working for ICE now?
Well, this is part of the problem we've got. You put your finger exactly on it. We have it's reached the point with Trump in control of so many different parts of government here. And Christy Nome, the head of Homeland Security, who actually in that press conference where Alex Padilla gets manhandled and taken down to the floor, In that very press conference, she said she was there to liberate Los Angeles from Karen Bass, the elected mayor, and Gavin Newsom, the elected governor. Nobody elected Kristi Noem to take over a city or take over a state, and yet that's exactly what she described that she was doing. ICE has a very narrow line of what it is supposed to do, and there should be accountability. But right now, the accountability structures within government are breaking down, and they are breaking down in part not only because of Donald Trump, but because of the Republicans in the Senate and House that simply are not insisting on accountability, the kind of accountability we should have no matter who is in the White House. And that's the part that makes all of this it's already dangerous enough, but it increases the danger associated with this by a factor of 10.
I want to switch gears. There's so much we could discuss there, but I want to ask you about the tax cut and healthcare cut bill. We should call it the budget
Yeah.
bill. The House passed its version. The Senate just released its language. And the new language includes making tax cuts more permanent for corporations. And as I understand it, expanding the number of people who would lose health insurance coverage. So, can you explain to us, just in the way you do, what happens to real people who rely
Yeah.
on nursing homes, who rely on rural hospitals, who rely on these services if this bill passes in this current form?
So think of it this way. Let's think of some very specific people that I guarantee the people who are listening to us right now know. One is brand new babies. Half of all brand new babies in America rely on Medicaid along with their mamas. And as they grow up, when they're toddlers and get ear infections and so on, we provide health care to little babies in this country so they can get a better, stronger start. A lot of them have working parents, but even working one and two jobs in America often is not enough for health insurance. So we say we're going to make sure babies get that good start. This bill cuts that health care for babies. Second big part, you may have a neighbor who uses a wheelchair, maybe somebody you know at work, maybe somebody who has to have a home health aide, someone who comes in so they can live independently and not have to go to a facility. This bill says there's going to be a lot of cuts. And a lot of people are not going to be able to get those wheelchairs and not going to be able to get those home health aides. Or you may have a grandma, an elderly auntie who lives in a nursing home. About half of all the people who live in nursing homes right now um, are supported by Medicaid. That's who pays for it for them to be there. Why? Because they don't have anything more, and they can't work anymore. Social Security is not enough to pay. So those are three groups of people who will lose much of their access to health care. And understand this, it's not just that they will lose, it's that the money that's saved by cutting that access to healthcare will go to billionaires and billionaire corporations. So think of it this way. Um, what the Republicans want to do is cut healthcare for newborn babies so that Mark Zuckerberg can buy a second Hawaiian island. Uh, they wanna push old people out of nursing homes so that Jeff Bezos can buy a 3rd yacht. And they want to take away wheelchairs and home health aides from people with disabilities so that Elon Musk can take a rocket ship ride to Mars. This bill would make history if it goes through the way it is now, make history as being the single biggest transfer of wealth from poor and working Americans to the richest people in this country in one bill in American history. These would be the single biggest cuts to Medicaid in our entire history. And the Republicans right now, the House passed their version. The Senate said, no, 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 we don't like that House version. We wanna cut healthcare for more people, and we wanna give even bigger tax breaks to the metas of the world.
It's just so hard to conceptualize
Yep,
because I always think of, if nothing else, elected officials want to get reelected.
yep,
And if you're stripping healthcare from your constituents, it's not a great way to get reelected.
right.
Uh, it just doesn't really add up. How
So
do they think? Yeah, go ahead.
so they there and that is that people won't know. And that's why you and I are talking today, Jess, because here's the deal. This bill is wildly unpopular, not just with Democrats, with independents, with Republicans, even Republicans like, not for me, not for me, if they know about the bill. But right now, only about 1 out of every 4 Americans knows much about the details of this bill. We move that to 2 out of 4 or 3 out of 4 who really know that this bill is about cutting health care so that a handful of billionaires can be even richer and roll around and wallow in their money, then we've got a good chance to stop it. The bill is not done. It's not final. And remember this, there's a lot Donald Trump can do that the rest of us can't stop. There's a lot we can't. We got to take to the streets, do what we can. But this one is in the United States Congress right now. The Senate is going to vote in the next couple of weeks. So this is the moment. Call your senator, call. And if you've already called, call again and call again and call again. Text, email, get in touch, go down to their office, hold a sign, ask at a town hall, and tell your friends to call, particularly your friends who live in states that are represented by Republicans. This is the all hands on deck moment because it's legislative and it's just what you said, Jessica. If those Republican senators think they can hide this vote, they think they can lie about it, "Well, not really, and look over there, and there's a thing over there, whoa." If they think they can get away with that, they're gonna cut health care for 14 million people. But if they think you're watching and I'm watching and a bunch of folks out there, a bunch of folks who are listening here are watching, if they come to believe that, I gotta tell you, they're already itchy, scratchy, squishy about whether they wanna go forward on this. And remember back in 2017, Republicans in control of the House, Republicans in control of the Senate, Donald Trump in the White House, they went after the Affordable Care Act, passed the House. You remember this? They all went over the White House and popped brewskis to celebrate taking away health care from millions of Americans. Came to the Senate. Everybody said it was going to pass the Senate. Gets down on the floor. You remember that famous John McCain holding his thumb up and giving it that. He did that because we created the weather system around it. We made sure
Mhm.
he'd heard from people. We made sure he knew that little babies were going to lose their health care, that old people were going to be pushed out of nursing homes, that people with disabilities were just going to take it on the chin. And by the way, when you take away that health care, understand this, it affects you even if you don't get Medicaid, because it means those community hospitals, those rural hospitals, those nursing homes, they can't absorb uncompensated care. So they end up closing. And maybe you were 14 minutes away from a hospital. Now maybe you're 52 minutes away from the hospital. And the next time somebody you love starts to have chest pains or fell on the playground and needs 17 stitches, you got a lot longer way to go. And that's going to be life and death for some people. So this touches all of us, but we got a chance to make a difference now.
Let me ask you this in a big picture sense. When
Sure.
I first started covering you, as I said, you were covering the bank, your bank bailout watchdog. At that
Right.
time, the banks were arguably the most powerful
Yep,
special interest in America. Those people had the money and they had enormous influence, and yet they did not have the ability to stop regulations. They
that's
could
right.
not block you from setting up the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. There was a balance. We are now looking at a different reality with these tech oligarchs, whatever we want to call them, billionaires, where they have this enormous level of power right now, including in this bill. Um, I'm curious to understand if this bill passes and it allows for the richest to consolidate more wealth and power, do we lose the functions of democracy that give the people a voice? Do we end up in a place where they dictate national policy? Is it almost too late then?
It sure moves further in that direction. And boy, did you hit the nail on the head. This is about healthcare for everybody, but this is also about, do we hang on to a functioning democracy? So I'm gonna give you an answer though that goes both ways. One is, we beat them back, we create a crack in that wall, right? If we can get some Republican senators to join us and not pass this bill. But I want to remind you about one other piece of history from the last time Trump was president. Last time they had divided cutting health care. We won that one with the tax fight. And they won that one. We actually lost. We fought it and fought it and fought it. By one vote, we lost. That's where we are right now. Are we going to win or are we going to lose? We lost that tax fight, but that pushed Donald Trump and the Republicans' approval ratings so low they never caught back up again. And they gave us the jet fuel to propel into the midterm elections. That's where we got back the House, we gained in the Senate, and we set ourselves up to have a Democratic majority in the House, the Senate, and the White House in 2020. So let me put it this way, Jessica. There's a lot on the line, and this is the righteous fight, the fight to have. It's a fight for healthcare. It's a fight so the billionaires don't take over our country. And it's a fight to give us the muscle memory because we got to take back this government in 2026.
Okay. I know you really have to go. I'd love to ask you a million more questions.
I
Maybe
know.
we can do it again sometime soon. I'd
We'll
love.
do it soon.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for
Take
your
care.
time today. I'm
You
grateful.
bet.